Hello everyone. This is a small video on Svetlana Alexievich and her work Voices from Chernobyl, the oral history of a nuclear disaster. First of all, let me give you a very brief know-how on Svetlana Alexievich and the Chernobyl nuclear disaster. Svetlana Alexievich is a Belarusian journalist and writer. She was born in Ukraine. Her father belonged to Belarus and her mother was from Ukraine. She is the first Belarusian and the 14th woman writer to win the coveted Nobel Prize for Literature. It was in 2015 that she became the Nobel laureate for her polyphonic writings, which is a monument to suffering and courage in our time. She studied journalism, worked as a reporter, which of course helped her in bringing about a very beautiful, a very aesthetic blending of journalism and literature. In the form of oral histories, she puts in black and white the history of human feelings. She was labeled as a dissident journalist with anti-Soviet sentiments. She was accused of being anti-communist and thereby anti-government, and was often intimidated, harassed, abused, defamed, and most of the time her books were censored and banned. The criticisms that she wrote about the political regimes in the Soviet Union and Belarus has even forced her to leave her country and make home abroad. Now, moving on to her works. She has to her credit lots and lots of works, documentary novels actually, where we see a complete blurring of the boundaries between literature and reporting and fiction. As a person who has put her hands in different vocations like teaching, reporting, writing, and as a person who had struggled at various forms of writing, in the sense that she had attempted short stories, essays, reportage, at the end of it, she had found her real calling, where she's bringing to the world a completely new form of writing, which is pluralistic in mode, which is polyphonic in nature, a form which denies a single truth and gives voice to umpteen number of voices, umpteen number of silenced words, and she tries to present history, she tries to present reality from different perspectives, from different angles, as felt and experienced by people in different emotional and physical conditions. For this particular form of writing, for this polyphonic form of writing, she is quite indebted to a Belarusian writer, Ales Adamovich, who through his concept of collective novel or novel oratorio, where people talk about themselves. It was Adamovich who actually, through his works, helped Alexievich to bring about a chorus of individual voices. She does not present before us an authoritarian voice, a single voice who tells a single truth. Instead, she gives voice to the people around her, children as well as adult, man as well as a woman. It's actual human voices, actual human sentiments, human confessions. There is a collage of different people talking. There is a collage of their everyday realities, where she does not provide a single authority. There is no authority who talks about a fixed reality. Instead, there are multiple realities of different people from different in different conditions. She says, I quote, "This is how I hear and see the world, as a chorus of individual voices and a collage of everyday details. This is the way I can simultaneously be a writer, a reporter, a sociologist, a psychologist, and a preacher." So we can of course say that it is a novel of voices. It is a novel of perspectives. It is a novel of minds which She does by conducting interviews, by talking to people, by conversing with them. She says, I quote, I see the world as voices, as colors, as it were. From book to book, I change. The subjects, of course, vary. The subjects change. With a narrative thread, that remains the same. The subjects would change, but the narrative thread, the way she does it, it remains the same. It is this narrative thread of the people I have come to know. See, with thousands of voices that I happen to listen to, I can create an image of my country, an image of my time. See, it all forms a sort of a small encyclopedia, the encyclopedia of my generation. This is what she says. She is trying to create an encyclopedia of her generation, of the people I came to meet. How did they live? What did they believe in? How did they die? And how did they kill? And how hard did they pursue happiness? And they failed to catch what happiness is. Now let's talk about some of her works. I'll just give you the names of some of her works. Her important works are, from the very beginning, I've Left My Village, that is her first work. Then she has written The Unwomanly Face of War, an oral history of women in World War II, which was published in the year 1985. Then you have Last Witness, an oral history of children of World War II, which was again published in 1985. Then you have Zinky Boys, Soviet Voices from the Afghanistan War, which was published in the year 1990. Enchanted with Death, published in 1993. Voices from Chernobyl, which we'll be talking about. Voices from Chernobyl, an oral history of the nuclear disaster, which was published in the year 1997. Then you have again Second-Hand Time, The Last of the Soviets, published in 2013. These are some of the works written by Svetlana Alexievich. Now, she has also received umpteen number of awards, including the National Book Critics Circle Award in 2005, PEN Award for the Freedom of Expression in 2007. Then the Central European University has awarded its highest honor, that is the Open Society Prize, to Alexievich. That was given in 2020. And of course, you know that she is a Nobel laureate. Now, her books are being translated into 40 plus different languages as well. Now, when she was awarded the Open Society Prize by the Central European University, this was what she said, I quote, "A person always faces a choice to act or not to act, to be on the side of good or to stay, to hide in the shadows, to live or life buried in a grey mass. I think that for those who have chosen the ideals of an open society, hiding is not their way. This is not your way." Now, Alexievich is a person who does not hide in the shadows. Even now, when we're talking this, she's protesting the authoritarian regime in Belarus after this year's election, which was held in August. We witnessed Lukashenko, who was actually the dictator for the 6th time. He is in power again, and he is being urged by the opposition to quit the stage before it's too late. And Alexievich is a person who is there in the forefront of this opposition, who is fighting the authoritarian regime of Lukashenko. Now, let me give you a very brief sketch on Chernobyl nuclear disaster, which was the worst disaster humanity ever witnessed, the largest technological disaster of the 21st century. The Chernobyl power station was situated at a settlement called Pripyat, which is 16 kilometers northwest of the city of Chernobyl and 104 kilometers north of Kyiv, Ukraine, in the former USSR. On April 26, 1986, by some sort of a technical flaws at the hands of the technicians, a reactor at the nuclear power plant exploded and burned. It is said that power surged inside the plant at the time of maintenance, and before they could shut down the reactor, Another power surge caused a chain of reactions which resulted in huge explosions. A large amount of radioactive material were spewed into the air. Firefighters attempted to extinguish the fire, and helicopters dumped sand so that they would be able to put off the fire, and the sand would contain radioactivity as well. A massive evacuation was taken up by the authorities in Pripyat, where the employees of the nuclear power plant were accommodated in the neighboring places of Belarus and other neighboring cities. There was a cover-up as well by the authorities when the government denied this incident till they couldn't hide it anymore. And within 2 or 3 days, they had to make an announcement in public. They had to admit this disaster. And within a week itself, this disaster had become an international issue. It had become an international concern because the radioactive material would be carried away by the wind to four corners of the world. Of course, the casualty at that particular moment was less in number, ranging from 1 to 28 according to various sources. When you compare it to the victims of or survivors of radioactivity, survivors of this disaster and victims of radioactivity which were to come in future. So the long-term effects of this disaster, like you can see in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, this was more serious and more tragic than that. There was such a dastardly long-term effect in the form of different kinds of cancers like leukemia, thyroid cancer. You had pregnancy problems, delivery complications, stillbirths. Mortality rates exceeded birth rates, and so on. There were lots and lots of complications. There were lots and lots of problems which affected the survivors of the disaster. So here was a group of people whose past got shattered into pieces and the future got dissolved by radioactive elements. The radioactivity soon got transmitted by the wind within no span of time. It got spread to Belarus, Ukraine, Russia, Poland, Germany, Austria, Romania, Switzerland, and on to France, Italy, Israel, Kuwait, Britain, US, Japan, India, etc., etc. That means it covered all over the world. So it has become an international issue, international disaster. Within a week itself, this whole issue was taken up by everybody across the world. Now we have passed 30 plus years after this disaster. Scientists still scientists estimate that this zone around the former plant will not be habitable for 20,000 years. Now let's talk a bit about Voices from Chernobyl, the oral history of a nuclear disaster. Now what is oral history? Oral history is a form of narration where you get to know about an event or events from different individuals. Through different individuals, you talk to them, you converse with them, you conduct interviews with them in a very informal way, and this is how you get different perspectives of a single event. So before that, history has power built in it. History negates certain voices. History gives importance to some voices and negates other voices, and other voices, marginalizes other voices, silences other voices. So history as a discourse gives you a grand narrative of an event which may not be true, or which might be distorted truth, or where they would be taking care of many vested interests. So reality as such, we cannot say that reality is single, reality is fixed, you have only one way of seeing. You cannot say that. Instead, reality is not one-sided, history is not one-sided. Different people experience reality in different ways. So what oral history does is, oral history gives you different different perceptions of one event, different ways of seeing are there, different experiences are there, different conditions are there, and all these conditions, different experiences, the different feelings that people have, the different ways of seeing vary from individual to individual. So what happens in oral history is that each and every voice is respected, each and every individual is being considered important. So Svetlana Alexievich all through her work has tried to respect individual voices, has tried to give voice to each and every silenced individuals by expressing things in the way they want to get it expressed. So Voices of Chernobyl is a work where we get to witness multiple voices from multiple perspectives, and we get a conglomeration of a clash of voices. You have polyphony there. It tells us that different people do have different voices, and different people through different voices expresses different realities and different histories. The initial blast of Chernobyl killed one plant worker, Valery Khodomchuk, and in the next few weeks 30 plus plant workers and firemen died. They died due to acute radiation poisoning. But the worst was yet to come. Tens and thousands of people received extremely high doses of radiation. This nuclear disaster, produced more survivors than victims. It is this fact that makes this tragedy more serious, grave, more tragic actually. This particular book, Voices from Chernobyl, is about those survivors who are right now leading a very deadly life. Alexievich collected these interviews in 1996, and this is presented in the form of testimony. The historical note given at the very beginning of this work, Alexievich compares two tragedies that happened in Belarus. One is the World War II, and the other one is this Chernobyl nuclear disaster. She says that during the war, 1 out of 4 Belarusians were killed. Today, because of the radioactivity, 1 out of every 5 Belarusian, that is almost 2.1 millions of people, amongst whom you have 7 lakh of them. 7 lakh of them are actually children. They are living on contaminated land, which is of course more tragic than sudden death. This whole work, Voices from Chernobyl, accounts various ways of seeing and experiencing a historical juncture, which constitutes the polyphonic historical narration. Piotr Yes, who is a psychologist, says that he understood how helpless he is. He says, I quote, "I'm falling apart. My past no longer protects me. They were there before, but now they are not. The future is destroying me, not the past." Nikolai Fomich Kalugin, a father, says, I quote, "I want to bear witness. It happened 10 years ago, and it happens to me every day. We lived in the town of Pripyat. In that town, I'm not a writer. I won't be able to describe it. My mind is not capable of understanding it. Neither is my university degree. There you are, a normal person, a little person, just like everyone else. You go to work, you return work, you get an average salary. Once a year, you go on a tour, on a vacation. You're a normal person, right? And then one day, suddenly, you are turned into a Chernobyl person, into an animal, something that everyone is interested in and that no one knows anything about. You want to be like everyone else. Now you can't. People look at you very differently. They ask you, was it scary? How did the station burn? What did you see? And can you have children? Did your wife leave you? At first, we were all turned into animals. The word Chernobyl is like a signal. Everyone turns their head to look at you. Yeah, he's from there. Now the same father says, can you picture 7 little girls balled in one room? There were 7 of them in the hospital room. But enough. That's it. When I talk about it, I have this feeling. My heart tells you, you're betraying them. Because I need to describe it like I'm a stranger. My wife came home from hospital and she couldn't take it. She was saying it would be better for her to die than to suffer like this, or for me to die so that I don't have to watch anymore. No, enough, that's it. I'm not in any condition. We put her on the door that my father lay on, until they brought a little coffin. It was small, like the box for a large doll. I want to bear witness. My daughter died from Chernobyl. And they want us to forget about it. Even if the whole of the land, the whole of the air there is poisoned by the radiation, the people who lived there feel that is their home. They feel like there is no other world need us. Nobody actually need us. When people say that, or people stare at us, people gaze at us, understanding that, or when they see that we are from Chernobyl. See, even a bird loves a nest, right? So they want to go back, and during the day they are living in a completely alien sort of a foreign land. And when they sleep, in their dreams, they live inside their home in Belarus. There is a need for money to survive. They need money to survive. They had to struggle a lot, sleeping in forests, people gazing at them because they are Chernobyl, as if they had seen a ghost. Chernobyl for these people was the war of all wars. The only problem with this war that they are fighting out day after day, every moment, being a Chernobyl person, being a person who was coming from Chernobyl, with the world, they are actually fighting another war. Chernobyl is a war of all wars, where the speciality of this war is that now there was nowhere they could hide. They couldn't hide underground. They could not hide inside under the water. They could not hide in the air. That was the problem with this war that was happening to them every moment. This extract that I'm going to talk about is a prologue of this particular work, Voices of Chernobyl, which is titled A Solitary Human Voice. This is actually the first interview that Alexievich jots down of Lyudmila Ignatenko, who was the wife of the fireman Vasily Ignatenko, whose brigade was the first to arrive at the reactor. Now, in this particular testimony, Lyudmila talks about the total degeneration of her husband's body, which was quite a horrific and unnatural thing to witness. The whole extract is about love, about how you cannot leave your loved ones at the time of a disaster, at the time of a tragedy. It is also about how things can change in a day. The aura of safety that is around us, it's just a kind of a halo. You are never safe. Any moment of your life, you are never safe. Things can get really dastardly. Any moment. The normality of your life could be disrupted, could be dismembered in a moment. The routine life, the normal life, the ordinary life that we all lead could turn out to be the other way around any moment. So any tragedy, any disaster is a reminder for us, is a reminder for the whole of the humanity. It reminds us about lots and lots of things. I would like to wind up this introduction to Alexievich and to the Chernobyl nuclear disaster by quoting Alexievich's words about love. She says, I quote, "Although it's very difficult to love a person, a human being is not a pure being. He is not inherently a good being. A human being can be very scary. Believe me, I can tell you this because I'm a person who was in the war. maybe not so much in the battlefield. I am a person who has heard a lot about war. I am a person who has heard a lot about Chernobyl. It's difficult to love a human being, but hatred will never save us. Only love can save us. I wish all of you have lots of love in your heart in order to lead a life, in order to go through life calmly, honestly, and joyfully. We'll talk about the extract a solitary human voice in the coming video. Thank you all.